It's official. The Denver Nuggets have confirmed their free agency moves and ended the Greek drama. But is this the best looking team we've had in years? Let's get into all that and more today on Nuggets Digest. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Stuart Hicar, basketball fan and Colorado native, as well as the most trusted man in all of amateur sports entertainment. And that's a fact. Also a fact, and this one's a little worrying, did you know only about 10% of you are actually subscribed to this channel, which means almost 90% of you are missing out on some of the best gosh darn basketball analysis this side of the continental divide. So if you like what we do here at Nuggets Digest, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with your favorite Mile High team. Alrighty, now that that is out of the way, let's talk about this free agency, all the confirmed deals, all the end to the Valančiūnas craziness, and I think we can take a bigger look at the team going into the future and next year and really ask the question, is this the strongest squad we've seen since that championship season in 2023? I think so, but let's get into the details and you can make the decision on your own. First things first, I mean, when you just look at the spread of talent we are surrounding Jokić with, you should be really, really pleased if you're a Nuggets fan. The number one complaint most Nuggets fans have had, and honestly, the team, the front office, coaches, players have all sort of echoed the same thing since we were knocked out in the second round of the playoffs this year by the Oklahoma City Thunder in 7 games. We need a deeper bench. We need more guys who can play more time. The Denver Nuggets starters played something like 80% of the minutes this season, when the Oklahoma City starters played something like 69% of the actual minutes of games this season. And if you really look at that, you should be worried because that is a lot more stress we're putting onto the bodies of our star players. If we learned anything from these last playoffs, it's that guys who are overworked, especially if there's some injury history, have a real chance of going down for longer and putting your team into the who knows what's going to happen kind of bucket. We do not want that at all. Obviously, this year, I think we have a real chance at the championship, if not the Western Conference Finals, at the very least. I really do believe this is one of the stronger setups we've had. But let's go through each of these acquisitions, tell you a little bit about the player, and then we can look at some stats, how they feel like they're fitting on the team, and come up with a final answer. So, first things first, we got Cam Johnson. We had to trade away MPJ as well as a 2032 unprotected first-round pick. Now, is that a little scary? Sure, the Nets will have that 2032 pick. That will be coming towards the end of Jokic's career, most likely, which means that it is definitely quite a piece. I understand why the Nets would want that and why they would take on that Michael Porter Jr. contract that we were so eager to get rid of. However, we got Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson is such a great player, and he has not been in a situation where he's been able to shine for a little bit now. And so I think with the shot creation you're going to see from Jokić, Cam Johnson is going to become one of your favorite Nuggets very, very quickly. So keep an eye out for him. Next, Tim Hardaway Jr., a bit of a veteran guy. We got him in free agency, and I really love the pickup. He's a dude who can really take minutes on. He's a solid mid-range shooter, older guy, pretty solid defense as well. I really like this acquisition. I think he's going to give us solid minutes off the bench that we can really trust. He's not going to throw away a lead. I can put it that way. Bruce Brown, the wascally wabbit himself. I love this picture where he looks like Bugs Bunny. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I don't know. What do you think? Tell me in the comments down below. Bruce Brown, obviously we got to pick up on a vet minimum contract, which is truly a steal, really is. He was such an important part of our championship season. His energy was so important. Him coming off the bench, the way he just energized the team and played such a good utility player kind of spot. He filled gaps wherever he needed. Some games he was shooting threes, sometimes he was hitting the rim, sometimes he was all defense. That's kind of what we need on our bench. Utility players who understand, hey, we're not doing great in this category. Let me step up to the bench, make everybody play at a higher level. That's what I think Bruce Brown is going to be doing for us. And finally, Jonas Valančiūnas. So much drama has gone on in the past week between the Denver Nuggets and Jonas Valančiūnas. If you're not up to date, essentially we grabbed the last year of JV's contract with the Kings, so he was mandated to play with the Nuggets. We got him in a trade. However, Jonas Valančiūnas has this Lithuanian manager who apparently had been talking to the Greek FIBA club Panathinaikos and had just told them, like, oh, yeah, the Nuggets will totally let him out of that contract. He'll come play for you guys this season, I guarantee it. The Nuggets had no knowledge of this whatsoever. This guy hadn't informed them. He just assumed that the Nuggets would be cool letting Valančiūnas go, which I'm like, how long have you been a manager? Have you been around sports? What are you talking about? And eventually, it seems like after some back and forth, JV went to Greece to hear them out. He's back here. The announcement has come in today that he is officially going to be a Denver Nugget. We'll have him for at least a year, and I think it is such a solid grab for the Nuggets. A backup like this is exactly what we need for Jokić. He's got an interesting skill set that we've seen play a few different ways in different teams. On the Bulls, I think he was a really traditional center, really loved the way he played. And on the Kings, he's been doing a little bit more distribution. Not quite a point center, but I could see him maybe getting some of the roll-off. Look, if guys are really comfortable playing with Jokić, who is a clear point center, I think that maybe Valančiūnas would be able to play a lot or work through a lot of those same plays, a lot of those same setups and sets. So I do think it's going to be a pretty comfortable mold with him coming in with some of our older players or players who have been there for a while. Some of our young guys, I think, are really going to appreciate having him as their backup center because it feels a lot more reminiscent of how Jokić actually plays. So excited about this actually finally becoming real. Thank God that Panathinaikos wasn't going too crazy. This manager of yours, Valančiūnas, I hope he's a good friend because, man, bad work on his part. Crazy, terrible job on his part. But let's take a look at some of the stats of these players, a couple of quotes, and see how they'll actually fit into this Nuggets team. So first things first, let's start with Valančiūnas. This is his stat sheet from last year. Now remember, this is a little bit of padded numbers just because of what the Kings were doing with him in terms of minutes. But 10 points, almost 8 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. That is really, really strong. That is a great numbers for a backup center. And the thing that's important about him, I think, is that he is a pretty solid defender as well, and he's a pretty strong guy. So I think he is going to be able to add a little bit of a defensive energy to the team, especially during those bench minutes that we haven't necessarily seen in the past. But let's go ahead and see how Coach Adelman thinks that he will fit into the whole team. This is his quote. He'll be point center. You can play combo guards. You don't need a lead point guard. You can play 5-out offense off the elbow, post him up. He's such a skilled player. First time we have our backup with a similar skill set to Nikola Jokić besides DeMarcus Cousins. Now, no shade to Boogie. I don't see him as much of a point center, if I'm being honest with you. And I also don't think that Jonas Valančiūnas has exactly the same skill set as Jokić, but I do think he has enough of the same skills and enough of the same court vision and experience to at least make some of those guys feel comfortable with him out on the floor. But again, with all the other talent we picked up, I think we've just got such a different bench now that I'm excited to see these first 20, 25 games of the season to just see how it all melds together, to see what Coach Adelman decides to go with as our rotations, to see some different experimentation with these players. And JV is definitely going to be a big part of that. Can't wait to see what he brings to this team. Moving on, let's see what Bruce Brown's bringing us. 8-4-2. Again, definition of a role player. He is just really, really solid where you need him to be. His field goal percentage is pretty solid as well. Not too inefficient, not a lot of turnovers per game. I love to see that. Steals per game, I expect that number to be much higher. Honestly, I expect most of these numbers to be higher. He was not getting a lot of opportunity with the Pelicans, so these numbers are lower than I would expect them to be moving forward. But again, such a utility guy, just brings so many different positives to the team that I'm psyched to have him here. And in the same sort of way, Tim Hardaway Jr. is that same guy. 11 points a game, 2 rebounds, and an assist or 2 each game. He is a pretty good, solid three-point shooter. But again, these guys are coming off of the bench, right? So we don't need them to be guys who take over games. We need them to be supporters who do not lose leads when Jokić sits down. We have all been familiar with that feeling of Jokić putting us up 10, sitting on the bench, losing that entire lead in 2 minutes, and having to have him come back out and put a lead together again. It's so much work on Jokić, and while he's still young, I do believe it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, let's not put more strain on this guy than we need to. Give him an opportunity to kick out to shooters like Tim Hardaway Jr. and, of course, Cam Johnson. There he is, 18 points a game, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists. His three-point percentage is practically 40%. That's crazy. He is such a good shooter. If you remember his days with Phoenix when we were facing them in the playoffs, he was lighting us up in such a crazy way. And I am so excited to have him. I expect his points per game to average out to maybe 22, 23. I really think he's going to have so many clean shots. And if you've heard this guy talk about his shooting form, he's a scientist when it comes to the actual mechanics of the game. He is really well-spoken in terms of his understanding of shooting form, the science behind the shooting, and how he is going to be playing better with the Nuggets. And here's actually a quote from him on that whole layout. It's an uncanny ability that he has. This is him talking about how he's going to be playing with Jokić, who, I mean, most players would be so psyched to have. It's an uncanny ability that he has. Spatial awareness, how he feels the game, how he understands the game. He's one of the best players in the league and one of the best players in league history. From a pure numbers perspective, you're not touching his output over the past couple of years. It's not accidental. He's just that good. Couldn't agree with you more, Cam. And honestly, the more I look at this lineup, the more I'm starting to feel like this really reminds me of that championship season. We had guys like KCP, Jeff Green, and again, Bruce Brown on that team, guys who were really picking up the weight and would suddenly have these games in the playoffs where it's just like, whoa, that's the KCP game. He couldn't be stopped. He's hitting down all of his shots. Whoa, there's lockdown defense from Jeff Green, whatever. Like, it was just such a solid team with so many guys who could take over on any given night. There was so much less pressure on our starters, so they could really shine and feel comfortable without being forced to win games in ways they weren't comfortable doing. So, do I think this is our best chance at a championship since that 23 year? 100%. I think this is such a solid free agency. This is our best free agency in like maybe a decade, I think. Truly, I cannot give the front office enough credit. Huge shout out to everybody up there. Ben Wallace, Tenzer, everybody, just so good. Thank you for actually making choices. I think that we have a solid chance at the championship this year, but what do you think? Let me know. Do you agree with my very good takes, or do you think I should be forced to have a one-on-one conversation with Valančiūnas' strange Lithuanian manager? That would be torturous. No, please, I don't want that. But either way, it's okay. Join the community down below. Leave a comment. Hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Stuart Hicar. This has been another 10 out of 10 perfect video. No mistakes whatsoever. In the meantime, go Nugs.